at St. Paul's Cathedral, San Diego, and I'm with Martin Green, the Canon for Music. Martin, thank you for joining us for the Tour Bus series.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
How long have you been Canon for Music here at the Cathedral?
Canon for Music for about 11 or 12 years now. I started on staff as the assistant organist in 1989.
89. Mm-hmm. Did you have any associations with the Cathedral before that?
Yeah, I sang as a boy chorister here from age 7, grew up in the boys' choir, started taking organ lessons at this very organ at about 10, 11 years old, and have played here in one form or another since then.
So you're a San Diegan?
Yes, one of the few.
The organ has had a few changes. Can you just, before we look at the instrument or hear the instrument, can you tell us what's happened in the last 2 years?
The last 2 years have been probably the most significant changes it's had almost in its lifetime. It's been completely redone, an all new action everywhere, a new wind system, new electrical system, some shuffling of divisions, revoicing, everything. And it's wonderful.
Does it sound...
Yeah.
Does it sound louder or better, or how does it sound
Yeah,
now?
all those things. It sounds better. It's capable of being a little bit louder. It's capable of being much quieter. It's much more expressive than the previous version the instrument was.
So as an Episcopal cathedral, do you think this organ is ideal for service work?
Oh, it's a joy to play service music on it. You can make it do anything you want, evoke any text, any mood. It's just right at your fingertips, and I'm still having so much fun every service with it now.
Can you tell us something about your predecessors here?
Yeah, there have been a long line of wonderful organists here and assistant organists. My immediate predecessor was Edgar Billups, whom I studied with here. Wonderful musician, known as a wonderful player and choir trainer, especially with the boys. And he was, I think, so far the longest serving conductor of the boys' choir here since it was formed in 1969.
You've got a wonderful tradition here of choral music, girls' choir, boys' choir,
and the boy trebles, the girl trebles, men's choir, mixed choir, and a professional mixed group that sings various services.
So when did the girls' choir start?
The girls' choir started just a couple of years after the boys. But for the first decade or so, it was it wasn't a boys and men's or girls and men's choir. It was just girl trebles only.
When did that start?
That started in about 1972, I believe.
That's pretty early, isn't it?
Yeah, it was one of the first girl treble choirs in the country.
Wow.
I'm not sure if it was the first, but one of the first.
Really?
And then about 10 years later, they began to sing as a mixed voice choir, SATB, with the men that sang with the boys as well. So they became an equal counterpart to the boys. And for festivals and occasional concerts, they'll mix together so we can get a huge treble line of 50 or 60 voices together for big events.
So a year for you, how does it work out, you know, getting new voices for the cathedral here? How do you go about it?
Every day.
Yeah?
Stop people on the street, talk to schools, but the most effective thing is to get word of mouth, you know, families that are existing choir families, bring people in.
And when does the year start?
It's basically on the traditional academic cycle, so we're about to start up in September and run through June.
What is the youngest age for them to start?
Generally 7. It depends a bit on the individual. Once in a while, a more advanced 6-year-old will be okay to start, sometimes 7 or 8.
So you must have a lot of energy for these youngsters.
Yeah, we try, yes.
So on a musical note, can you explain to our listeners the difference in sound between a boys' choir and a girls' choir? Do they sound very different?
They're very different, especially with the boys and men's choir, obviously being all male, and every voice part has a very unique sound. It can be a very pure sound. It also is a very penetrating sound. The boy treble and the male countertenors really carry, and if you imagine, you know, the immense European cathedrals being filled up with that sound, it's perfect for that, and it's wonderful in here. The girls' sound is a little bit sweeter. It can be almost equally powerful, but it's a sweeter, kind of rounder tone. And so we kind of choose repertoire according to those differences in the voices and make sure everything's as best suited to each choir as possible.
So for the sweeter sound for the girls, is there a composer that you would say, aha, that's perfect for them? What would you, is there somebody in mind?
You know, I think both choirs are surprisingly versatile. They do, each choir does everything from very early music up through some, you know, Bach cantatas to contemporary composers, and they all work equally well.
Yeah, they certainly do. I mean, about how many concerts a year do they perform?
Concerts vary from 2 to 3 in a slow season up to 10 or a dozen. And then they sing a large number of services here.
The organ, back to the organ, how many concerts a year do you have at the cathedral?
We have quite a few now. There's a Tuesday, 12:30 every week, after the first Sunday of the month, Evensong, and then other visiting artist recitals as announced, so I think close to 70 a year.
And they're pretty well attended, aren't they?
They are, yes, we're very fortunate.
Well, it's a wonderful addition to Southern California. It is a
Thank you very much.
exquisite instrument. It always has been good, but I think now with the new work, it's beautifully voiced for the building. So why not you turn around and
All right.
show us some of these lovely, delicious sounds?
All right.
What are the older stops on the organ?
Oh, there's a few left from the original Hook and Hastings organ. It was built in 1886 and shipped out to the original St. Paul's in 1887.
Wow.
One of my favorites is this choir Borden, the 8-foot Borden. It's just such a wonderful tone.
That's sweet.
It's one of the most beautiful flutes on the organ. It's so useful for accompanying and
that's
light
not
work.
been changed much.
No, it's been cleaned, and that's
Clean,
that's
right.
it. It's
Right.
pretty much as built.
Lovely. What else is there?
Also, the clarinet originally is from 1915. Very beautiful, again, very beautiful, useful solo line.
Yeah. What else is there? There's a-
Some of the other older things now go to the second and third iteration of the organ, 1915, later in 1950. This oboe, a wonderful, really dark, round oboe. It gets very big, and you hear how expressive the enclosures are here, too.
Yes.
And then some of the newer things would be on the solo division now. Some of these are vintage pipe work, but wonderful sounds. We have the wonderful, these are 1920s E.M. Skinner cello Celeste.
It's beautiful. That's
Wonderful,
very
yeah, sizzly
strong, isn't
sound,
it?
yeah. And a very big solo principal. Also with a 4-foot. And those two stops are really handy in kind of bolstering the congregational singing in big services.
So that acts like a secondary grade, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it really does. And then along with that on the solo division are some wonderful lighter stops, the Corno di Bussetto. And a beautiful English horn.
It's really big, actually, isn't
They're
it?
both very big, but they take over right from the
Yeah. Yeah.
complementary stops on the divisions. And then, of course, some wonderful trumpet harmoniques, so perfect for pieces like... And with the 16 and 4-foot also.
You've got a lot of reeds
A
on
lot,
the
lot of
organ,
reed
haven't you?
variety and a very fiery sound. And then we have enclosed in the Great Division. That's another wonderful thing about this organ is the entire Great Division is now enclosed.
That's unusual, isn't
Very
it?
unusual and very handy for all the choral accompanying and service music here. What's now called the tromba is the original Aeolian Skinner tuba from 1969. And if we play the same snippet on it, we'll start with the box closed. And that now, on top of it, we have the new tuba, which is the same thing again, start with the box closed.
Are all the reeds enclosed?
Everything is enclosed except for the 3 trumpet harmoniques.
Oh, let's hear those. Go on. Let's have it.
These here? This is...
They're not enclosed.
Those are not enclosed.
Okay.
Everything else is.
Wow, that's a huge amount of reeds. So details of the organ, the ranks, the number of pipes and everything like that is on the website?
Yeah, it's all the very detailed versions on the website. You can see everything and more than you ever wanted to learn about it online.
So what is one of your favourite sounds on the instrument? Hard to pick.
That is a question I don't think I can answer yet because they're all my favorite sounds right now.
What about a big string sound? 'Cause
Big
I
string
know
sounds
this
are
organ can
obviously,
do that.
we did a little snippet of these wonderful solo strings, again,
Yeah.
up here, these. But you can get so much variety in string sound. Like here, for example, is the whole thing together. Very big sound down to, these are some of my new favorites. These are new to the organ, these silver flutes and celestes that Quimby built, which just kind of whisper together. Close. Can almost be, especially in the church with a few people in it, almost inaudible. So for some of the choral accompanying or ending of like howls, psalm preludes and things, it's just a magical moment there.
I think that's one of the magical things of organs. Sorry to reuse that word, but it's right. I mean, magical in the sense you have those two stops and you can build up to a deafening sound and then decrescendo back to nothing.
Yeah.
That is, to me, is musical.
Definitely,
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
And this organ has a much broader range than it did before. It's always been a wonderful instrument to play, but it's even better now.